Wow. I think that's all I could say, because I just watched a really, really bad movie. See, I had the opportunity to jump back into the dinosaur craze because my two oldest boys had the opportunity to watch Jurassic Park Rebirth. I personally wasn't able to watch it with them, but I know it wasn't the greatest of movies in it. Like, seriously, what's going on in this clip? Obviously wasn't the best of the Jurassic Park movies. So, being a good father that I was, I decided to throw on the classics.
Exactly. Welcome to Jurassic Park.
It had been years since I watched the original Jurassic Park, but after watching it, I can't deny, it's truly a classic. The pacing is good, the action is stupendous, and even the visuals keep afloat. Even though it was made in the 90s, it's a good film. And as I watched it, I was reminded just how different it was compared to modern movies. The original Jurassic Park movie actually makes you think. I could tell there were times when my kids were like, where are the dinosaurs? Where's the T-Rex? Why aren't they eating lots of people? Why are they talking so much? Jurassic Park is a movie that wants its audience to think. Think about the complexities of genetic modification, the human species, diving into unknown and dangerous territory. I haven't seen all the Jurassic Park movies, but after what I just watched, that it's the only one that actually challenges its viewers to use their brain. And that's what makes the original so good, and what makes Jurassic Park II so bad. Oh gosh, where to start? See, after watching the original, my kids were begging for more dinosaurs. I was like, okay, let's watch Jurassic Park 2. I don't ever remember if I watched the movie as a kid. Maybe it was because I was still young at the time, or maybe because it was just that forgettable. Regardless, Jurassic Park 2 is a terrible movie. In fact, I might argue that it is the worst movie in the series. Again, I haven't seen all the Jurassic Park movies, so hold my beer and I'll find out. But after watching Jurassic Park 2, I can wholeheartedly say it's worse than Jurassic Park 3 that gets a bad rep. And it's definitely worse than the reboot Jurassic World that has its flaws, but at least tried to tell a consistent story. Okay, enough. Let's get to the review. Jurassic Park 2 mainly follows the story of Ian Malcolm, the doctor with a knack for chaos theory in the first movie. In the opening scene, he is being summoned by John Hammond, the founder of Jurassic Park, to speak with him about a secret mission. This is also when we meet the main antagonist of the film, Peter Ludlow, who is John Hammond's nephew. We see in the scene that Ludlow has a disdain for Malcolm because Malcolm has been vocal about the tragedy at Jurassic Park and the secrecy behind the dinosaurs themselves. We don't find out in this scene, spoilers incoming, but John Hammond and Peter Ludlow have different ideas on what they want to do with Jurassic Park's second island, Isla Sorna, which we are informed was a breeding island for the park, and all the animals were released when a hurricane came through in the first movie. I say spoiler because this is our first major inconsistency in the movie. Ludlow and his team of lawyers are desperately trying to silence the truth about Jurassic Park. They've been successful this far painting Malcolm as this lunatic for believing in dinosaurs and speaking out about the accidents, but that in itself is contradicted by Ludlow's own actions in the movie, and what we previously know from the first film. In the first film, Dennis Nerdy, the tech guy behind Jurassic Park, is unhappy about being underpaid and thus looks to sell the biological genes of the dinosaurs to a competitor of InGen, the corporation owned and built by John Hammond. This information proves that other people know about the island, or at least know about what InGen is doing. This requires the audience to majorly suspend their disbelief. If competitors know about the island, wouldn't they be seeking to gather specimens? What about families of the deceased? Would they not be raising a stink about what happened to their loved ones? It's not like they were required to sign non-disclosure agreements. What about Ellie Slater and Alan Grant from the first movie? Are we assuming that they remain silent about this whole ordeal? That's also forgetting the family that stumbles upon the island in the beginning of the movie. You think a rich family like that is just going to remain quiet? I guess we are just going to overlook that. The other issue is that Peter Ludlow's big plan to bring dinosaurs to San Diego for a zoo, again, spoiler, would also shed the light on his secrecy that he has been so eager to protect.
Do you really think that once people find out that InGen was lying, that they've been hiding this major secret from the world government, that the world government wouldn't want to instantly seize on the dinosaur craze? Fine, we'll believe you. We'll assume that all governments are stupid. Oh wait, that one might actually be true. Anyways, Heyman meets with Malcolm, in which he discloses that he has a change of heart over the last 4 years and wants Isla Sorna to be a habitat for dinosaurs, free from human interference. I kind of seriously doubt that Heyman would have changed his perspective in a short period of time, but hey, maybe seeing your grandchildren almost die would do that. Heyman wants evidence that the dinosaurs are there, so he asks Malcolm to be a part of a team to help photograph the life. Malcolm informs Heyman that there's no way in heck he's going back to that island, but Heyman had a trick up his sleeve. He informs Malcolm that his girlfriend, Sarah Harding, is already there, in which Malcolm agrees to go, but only to rescue Sarah. I actually don't think the initial plot is that bad. Okay, a rescue mission, they drop in, encounter a couple dinos, have some cool chase sequences, heroic moments of sacrifice in the face of unsurmountable odds, and no, we don't get any of that. I mean, we do, but the way it comes across is just meh. The main problem with the movie is what they did with Malcolm's character. See, in the first movie, Malcolm is charming, smart, edgy rock star, as Michael Crichton had him in this novel. But in this movie, it seems he's a totally different character.
I'm just protecting their baby. So am I.
Don't get me wrong, he has his moments, but for the first third of the film, he just kind of sounds like a crybaby. He cries to Heyman about the dinosaurs.
Rim. Don't worry, I'm not making the same mistakes again.
No, you're making all new ones.
He whines to Sarah about getting off the island and how dangerous it is.
Because I knew you would have stopped me from coming.
I would have tied you to the bed.
And then even he's crying to his daughter, who we are introduced in the beginning. I get it. The first movie changed him. I mean, it would change all of us to stumble upon prehistoric creatures and then to almost be brutally murdered by them. I think it would make you want to be a better person, a better father, because life is precious, and after having that near life-death experience, maybe you do want to spend more time with your daughter, but we don't get that. Instead, we get the crying. Malcolm just comes across as weak. You could argue that this is just the wrong character to choose. In Jurassic Park III, we see Alan in a similar situation, but he seizes the opportunity to be brave and to fight even when their plan is completely destroyed by the Spinosaurus. Instead, we're left with Malcolm. What could have been, I guess. The story progresses, but it's this weird, lack of drama. I mean, our main quest is to find Sarah, but literally 4 minutes movie time, they find Sarah. I don't really get this. Why was this the choice? The only thing I can think of is they wanted Malcolm to feel brave and strong for going across the world to save his girlfriend, but he doesn't do anything. The reward of finding Sarah is effortless and feels that way. Maybe it was an early girl boss syndrome because Sarah doesn't need a man to rescue her, which is fine, but it could have been done better. Clues could have been given to lure us into the island with the potential for encounter with the carnivorous dinosaurs, but Malcolm then finds out his daughter snuck on the boat, really, and is now on the island. I'm just saying, when my own kids are like, how did she get there? We have a problem with your script. That's okay, because now we don't have to worry about Malcolm being the concerned boyfriend, but instead concerned father, which again is fine, but the way it comes off is annoying. There are other subtle stupid points throughout these scenes. Julia Moore's character, Sarah, touches dinosaurs and then nearly gets stabbed. When they head back to the truck, they find Kelly, Malcolm's daughter, and they also find that the truck is absolutely trashed. It's kind of confusing because it was a very short time that they were away from the truck, and also the girl can start a fire but can't pick up trash? Okay, but it's okay because now it's time to entirely change the plot. A rescue movie would have been good. It's kind of the go-to Jurassic Park storyline, but instead we get something kind of different. As the good guys are taking pictures and strategizing about what to do next, the bad guys come in with their Humvees and helicopters. Oh, and are they bad? They drive through, polluting the air, capturing dinosaurs, and then we are introduced to Roland Timbo. Tembo. I know I've been super critical of this movie so far, but I love Roland, played by Pete Postlethwaite, however you pronounce it. I'm sorry, but he's just really cool. He instantly dominates the script every time he appears. His character, in my opinion, is perfect. He's the big game hunter that wants to get the big game, and what's bigger than a T-Rex? If the writers wanted you to hate him, I don't think I could. In my opinion, he doesn't come off as evil or really evil like Ludlow does, but he's true to his persona. He's unabashed, that he wants to hunt, and I like it. I mean, obviously not imprisoning a poor little T-Rex, but hey, you can't say it's not smart. The hunters roll in to capture a couple of dinosaurs, and already out of the gate, this plan kind of doesn't make sense. Ultimately, Ludlow wants to bring dinosaurs back to San Diego to start his new Jurassic Park, but the way at which they planned for all of this to happen is just stupid. I mean, why only use helicopters to drop the stuff in? Why, if you know that the carnivores are in the middle part of the island, that you choose purposely to move closer into the interior? Why, with all of this supposed reconnaissance technology, why haven't they already planned out where they are putting their base? What their exterior is going to look like? How are they going to defend themselves? They don't. And so it's just all so stupid and it shows early in the movie. The good guys find the bad guys and their base, and the photographer Nick Von Owen, played by Vince Vaughn, was told by John Hammond that these guys might show up, and that he was prepared. Wouldn't that have been smart to tell the others earlier? Well, Nick then pulls out a wrench. I couldn't help but to laugh. These guys have machine guns and other sophisticated technology, and you think you're going to beat them with a wrench? Okay. Well, the even funnier part is Nick actually does defeat the ragtag group of dinosaur hunters with a wrench. You would think you're on an island full of ravenous, hungry carnivores, giant herbivores, and other crazy animals that you may not be aware of. It's a dangerous situation, and any communication would be important to alert the rest of the group to prevent the least amount of damage if an attack were to happen. You put out a guard, maybe even two. But does this camp that the bad guys set up have a watchdog? No. In fact, the good guys just stroll in. Even there's giant lights illuminating where they are. I can't even explain how stupid this is. Yes, I get it. How were they supposed to know other people were on the island? Even though you could easily see them on top of the hill from the helicopter. But for the love of everything that is holy, this is an island full of dinosaurs. You should have your guns ready. Your men should be ready, because you don't know when a T-Rex is gonna pop out. But no, let's throw all of our logic out the window. This is why I don't understand why people defend this movie, because we aren't even halfway through the movie and it's already broken. And that's not counting the completely laughable ending. After this point, I just had a hard time taking anything this movie did seriously. Nick finds a way to let the dinosaurs that were caged loose, and havoc engulfs the camp. Men in the camp literally run in fear, not towards the guns that they could have easily grabbed and start mowing down the dinosaurs. That would have made sense. Ludlow then could have interjected not to kill the dinosaurs, that they were needed alive, but instead, we get more stupidity. How this scene happens is beyond me.
Auntie, look out! Jump!
Utter stupidity. This just takes you out of the movie. Like, do people realize we don't have to have this kind of shenanigans to still produce a solid movie? Just because it looks cool, which it really doesn't mean it makes sense. Of course, Roland walks back into the camp, is like, "You're all idiots," which he's not wrong, And then we move to another lack of brain cells scene. Nick frees the baby T-Rex that Roland was using for bait to lure out the buck and brings it back to their base armored trailer. Sarah and Malcolm both question the decision but reluctantly go through with it, knowing bringing the baby T-Rex will likely bring the parents there. I get the wanting to help the baby T-Rex because it won't be able to grow up and function properly, but why? This isn't a lion cub, a baby silverback. This is a baby T-Rex. When you willingly know that or theorize that the parents will come to protect the young, which is stated by Sarah, there's no point in taking this risk, but that's what they do. They help the baby T-Rex set it free to its parents, and the T-Rexes return the favor and yeet them off the cliff. I'm not going to go into the nuance of this scene, but there's a lot of these unrealistic rope scenes in action movies. But with how long they were positioned on the rope, my oldest son made the comment that there's no way they'd be able to hold on to it that long. I was chuckling at the fact that Eddie Carr, one of the photographers on the rescue mission, thought he could tow a massive 2-crate trailer with a little dumpy car. Someone can show me the math that would actually work, I may believe you, but with a huge portion of the weight hanging off the cliff, I had a hard time believing that in the rain, he would even slightly pull the container back over. Eddie, though, isn't successful in the end when the T-Rex snacks on him and the crates and car crash down and explode at the bottom of the cliff. This was also another unbelievable scene because somehow the crates drop at a position that missed the dangling good guys completely, only for them to be pulled up by the bad guys. Now we run into a problem that we stated earlier. The bad guys inform the good guys that their release of the dinosaurs at their base destroyed their only communication of the island. Really? Really? I mean, okay, fine, I can believe you that you only brought one major communication device, but is there any organization with this expedition? Again, we are working with freaks of nature. Are you telling me that this group didn't have a schedule to keep? A failsafe in case they didn't communicate back? Wouldn't this board of InGem, after losing connection with base camp, be eager to regain connection with this group? I'm just saying, basic communication is a rudimentary part of human existence. If I don't show up at home, my wife will buzz my phone, find out where I am, hoping something bad didn't happen to me. This isn't my lazy butt, but probably a multi-million-dollar operation. There is no way that once the line of communication was severed, maybe even 12 to 24 hours,
That backup from InGen wouldn't pour in to see what was going on. It's just stupidity, but the plot must continue, and it does. The good guys and bad guys team up to head to the interior of the island, the only spot they believe they can relay the communication, so that they can get rescued. There's some minor conversations as they trek across the island. One of them made me chuckle again between Malcolm and Ludlow, where Ludlow tries to make it sound like this is a well thought out plan and Malcolm gets to foreshadow Ludlow's doom. I only laugh because my toddler could have made a better strategy than the last-ditch effort to get off the island that requires them to venture through Velociraptor territory and be a walking buffet for many of the dinosaurs that are much bigger, stronger, and faster than the humans, who forgot they have guns. After a while of walking, there's another short scene where they take a break for more character-building dialogue. One of the antagonists, I frankly don't remember his name, and I frankly don't really care, decides to take a leak out in the forest. This champ, we'll call him bad guy number 3, comes across the Chompies, the little guys at the beginning of the movie that tore off that little girl's flesh. Yeah, those guys. Also the same Chompies, bad guy number 3 decided to shock with his electrified stick earlier in the movie. Ugh, this is just such a dumb scene. So bad guy number 3 gets lost in the forest, forgets his way back to the group, falls down a cliff, and then gets tortured and eventually murdered by the Chompies. I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy his death. He was a stupid character, and he's died in the stupidest way, which is only fitting. But it's another scene where you really have to just suspend your disbelief. I get people get lost in the forest all the time. I get maybe this dude wanted some privacy, so he heads further in, but come on. He's a guy. Just drop your trowel and pee behind a tree. I can tell you, in a jungle full of dinosaurs, I'm staying as close to the bin with guns as possible. Whatever, bad guy's dead. Yay! Roland ends up asking the guy who was supposed to keep track of bad guy number 3 where he went, after they figured out he went missing. Roland brings a team, eventually finds bad guy number 3's dead corpse, and then reports back to camp as night falls. So now, it's officially 24 hours since communication has gone down. Any helicopters? Any backup? Nope. The group decides to hunker down in their spot so the plot can progress, and well, it's more stupidity. I don't mind action sequences, I actually love them, but there's so many scenes in this movie that require you to turn off your brain and say, T-Rex, go yum yum, Velociraptor, go fast fast. Once again, the group lacks anybody on night patrol. Technically, Malcolm is awake watching a T-Rex sneak into his daughter/Sarah's tent, who obviously followed their scent because Sarah's jacket had dinosaur blood all over it. Why she didn't ditch that, we don't know. Why doesn't the hunting guy that may know something about scents say anything? We don't know. The plot. It must continue. One of the nameless group members wakes up to see a giant T-Rex only to freak out and begin screaming. Obviously, if a giant T-Rex is in your camp, you're going to run. But what would the second thing you do? Do you know? I don't know. Maybe grab a gun? Hell, Malcolm watches all of this for like almost 2 to 3 minutes before the nameless guy wakes up. He could have pounded some lead into Rexy, but I get it. He took Alan's advice from the first movie and remained completely still. In the end, it doesn't matter, panic ensues, and the men run. My favorite part of this entire scene is the couple of guys in the back of the group that do have guns, firing them directly into the air. Had to rewind a couple of scenes because it's pretty clear from the time they rescued the good group and the time they're walking that most of the bad guys have guns. So the question remains, why don't they use them? Why are they doing this? The next couple scenes don't get any better. Roland proceeds to take down one of the T-Rexes. A group of the good guys hide in the waterfall from the other Rex, and many of the mercenaries run into the high grass. The waterfall scene is dumb, but what scene isn't? We lose one of the bad guys because he was scared of snakes. I mean, I hate snakes too, but seriously, you'll run into the jaws of a T-Rex? The Rex only has him by one arm. I think we're supposed to assume that the Rex probably like flipped him up in the air and then like launched on him, but we don't actually get to see that, which would have been pretty fire. Nick says the Rex is coming back, but instead, it's Malcolm. Ugh, my brain hurts. Maybe somebody can make it make sense, but Malcolm just runs right by the T-Rex. I mean, sure, Rexy is munching on the cowboy, but we are to believe that 1, it's just going to ignore a person coming right next to it, and 2, that the T-Rex is only satisfied with 1 human? According to our trusty friend Google, a T-Rex would only need to eat 2 adult males per day, so I'll give the benefit of the doubt that Mr. Rexy already had some appetizers. It may be satisfied with food, but would it still perceive the humans as a threat to its young? I mean, it did follow them all the way this far. I don't know the answer, but I would probably say yes. Now, back to the bad guys in the high grass. I think one of the cool build-ups in the first Jurassic Park movie is the infamous Velociraptor. Little by little, you're fed details about the raptors that make you fear them. Their intelligence, their speed, their razor-sharp claws and teeth. All of it slowly building up until the final showdown at the end of the movie. I will say this. I don't think the ending of Jurassic Park was perfect. It has some flaws. In the beginning of the movie, one of these raptors was able to drag a fully grown man into its enclosure, while others tried to sedate the creature with their electrified sticks. A couple of kids were able to fend off the creature and capture one of them in a freezer. Even though this is the outcome, we are still able to see how the velociraptors adapt to their surroundings. I mean, one of the raptors in the first movie is able to open the door, while another comically bursts through some electric wires. In the end, the squad in the first film is saved by the T-Rex, who magically appears in the park's main lobby without any damage to the building. Jurassic 2 definitely assumes you watched the first film, but they don't do any really effort to expand on the previous knowledge. The first scene in the high grass sees the raptors picking the group off one by one. Fine, we'll give it to the writers that they were trying to show the intelligence of the species. I don't think it's the best way to showcase it, though. Instead of focusing on bad guy number 3 and his band of hungry copies, we could have spent 10 minutes building up the raptors and watching them slowly pick off the bad guy group in a dramatic horror movie kind of way, highlighting their intelligence. For example, in Jurassic Park 3, the raptors use a person as bait. It's amazing and sophisticated, and it amplifies the fear of the raptors. After all of the bad guys have been cleared out, the good guys run into the high grass, but then Malcolm realizes the raptors are there, so they run out as fast as they can. They all fall down a small ravine and end up finding the structure that they need to communicate to escape. Malcolm's injured, so Sarah and Malcolm's daughter, Kelly, stay behind while Nick runs into the structure. Effortlessly stumbles upon the breaker box that's kind of just wide out in the open and turns the power back on. Nick then relays a message to InGen, which you have to wonder why they would just believe him, but whatever. Malcolm, Sarah, and his daughter see that the power is on, so they decide to head towards the structure to look for Nick, only to be ambushed by the velociraptors. Malcolm tries to distract the raptors, injured by the way, while Sarah and his daughter rush into a building. I don't have many complaints about the scene with Malcolm. I think there's many unbelievable aspects to it, but for the most part it seems like it could be believable. Malcolm runs, hides, uses items as barricades, and gets pretty beat up. It's what's happening with Sarah and Malcolm's daughter that bring us to maybe the dumbest scene in the movie. Sarah and Malcolm's daughter, Kelly, trap themselves in one of the structures while two raptors are trying to get their way in. Sarah and Kelly decide to try to dig out the other way, and just as they're about to escape, a raptor appears through the hole they were digging into their hideout. Sarah and Kelly decide to climb higher. Ian escapes from his car and dashes into the girl's structure, only to see the raptor clawing its way into the building. In an act of courage, Kelly, yes, the little girl Kelly, decides to use the pipes as gymnastic bars to flip and kick the raptor out of the building. Oh man, you just have to watch the scene for yourself. Yeah, that happened, but I'm sorry, it gets worse. This next part just gets me so fired up. Supposedly there's another raptor in the structure. We don't actually see the raptor, but Sarah tells Malcolm to get out. Then Sarah proceeds to climb high up and knocks out some vents to climb on the roof, and then jumps to the building adjacent to the structure she was hiding in. The raptor follows, jumping over Sarah and landing on top of the roof. Sarah, who didn't quite make it to the other building, is holding onto the roof with one hand, with a pinch grip for about 30 seconds. Make it make sense. Her grip does change later in the scene when she falls off, but her pinch grip is on board with world-class women heavy lifters who can pinch grip 14 to 16 pounds. This is a skill rock climbing experts have to train for. Sarah's not these things. She's a nature enthusiast with a photography background. She may be stronger than the average female, but it's unrealistic and, once again, removes you from the tension. Sarah in the end escapes, and the three, Malcolm, Kelly, and Sarah, are joined by Nick, who plunge into the helicopter. They are saved, the terrible expedition is over, and the movie ends. Please? Please? Please, can it be over? Everyone's learned their lesson, right? I mean, almost the entire team has been slaughtered by carnivores on this island. You can't possibly think that InGen is going to escape the litigation at this point. But I get it. Corporations throughout history have been able to get away with exploiting human life for the gains of profit. With the potential of a trapped TX, the amount of money that InGen could pour in from this one creature alone would be astronomical. That is, if anyone had a brain cell to do anything safely and properly. You'd think extra precautions might be made after all of this by Ludlow to actually make sure more human life isn't lost, but that doesn't happen, and what ensues just makes me walk away from the movie. As I stated earlier, Roland was able to sedate the buck, the big T-Rex, while the others were dealing with the raptors. When in-gem reinforcements arrive, they begin closing the creature so they could move it back to San Diego. The good guys see this as their helicopter flies over before returning to San Diego. I'm not quite sure what the timeline is between leaving the island and returning to San Diego, but they almost make it look like it's instant. We could assume it's not, but the transition doesn't help from helicopter in the jungle to helicopter in San Diego. Regardless, InGen is holding a press conference at the San Diego dock, and once again, we are entering another tidbit of stupidity. Ludlow begins his speech to what we would assume is the press, investors, and private parties. Malcolm and Sarah try to crash the conference but are stopped at the gate. Ludlow then gets a message that the boat has arrived early and he should take a look what they are seeing. Ludlow then finds out by InGem dock team that the boat is not responding to their calls. The scene is ominous because the boat keeps approaching but to no response. Ludlow then slowly backs out of the control room and the boat crashes smack into the dock, knocking out the control room and everyone in it. We have 25 minutes left of the movie, and it can't help itself. It just has to be stupid, just to be stupid, on almost every occasion. Why, with how much loss that you've had on the island, that you would not take every precaution that you could? Why wouldn't you be in constant communication with the one boat that has a dinosaur on it? Why wouldn't you have helicopters, airplanes, extra boats, anything, and I mean anything, to make sure this delivery goes as smoothly as possible? Why, when the boat begins to get overrun by the T-Rex, that they don't immediately communicate back with InGen? Stupidity. All of it is so freaking stupid. And yet, this Jurassic Park has better reviews than Jurassic Park 3. A certain YouTuber thinks this is the perfect sequel. How? Malcolm and Sarah barge into the boat wreckage, climbing up with the security guards to analyze the scene. They find the crew of the ship dead, with, get this, a dangling hand on the captain's wheel. How did this happen? We don't know. Was there a sign of a T-Rex smashing through the ship? Nope. Like, this boat should be at the bottom of the ocean if a T-Rex was loose on it. Somehow, it got trapped in the cargo hold, only to be released when a security guard rips the opener from a dead corpse. The T-Rex is free and starts wreaking havoc throughout the city. At this point, I actually physically got off my couch and walked away. The stupidity was too much for me to handle. I didn't really miss much either. T-Rex damages the town, Malcolm and Sarah find the baby T-Rex and use it to lure the mama T-Rex back to the ship. The T-Rex gets locked back in the cargo bay and Ludlow gets eaten by the baby. Movie practically over, and thank goodness. Jurassic 2, The Lost World, is a terrible movie, and it should go up there with one of the worst sequels to a franchise. Some people say this movie gets too much hate, but I don't think it gets enough. Jurassic Park 2 lowered the bar for the entire franchise. It obviously didn't deter people from seeing more Jurassic Park/World, with 3 out of the 5 movies making over $1 billion and Rebirth nearly making $1 billion. I just think the franchise could do better. Jurassic Park movies could make people think again, like the first one did. In a world where genetic modification has emerged as a contentious topic, this could be expanded on in the dinosaur world, or focus on the willingness for corporations to turn a profit at the expense of human life. Or maybe it's just time to say goodbye to Jurassic World. Maybe we've seen enough dinosaurs, and it's just time to move on to bigger and better ideas. If you watched all the way to the end, I want to thank you. I love movies and books and good entertainment, and would love for you to like and subscribe if you like hearing my opinion on the matter. Feel free to make your thoughts heard in the comment section below, and thank you all for being a part of Adaptation Nation. Peace out.